The day was nearing its end. A young woman emerged from the shopping center with bags in hand and made her way to her car. Loading her purchases into the trunk, she approached the driver's door and found an elderly woman standing near her vehicle. The old lady smiled and asked, "Could you be so kind as to give me a ride home? I don't have a car and I've been on my feet all day." The woman replied that she would be happy to help. Seating the old lady in the front seat, the young woman began to circle the car to take the driver's seat. At the same time, a strange unease began to stir within her. Sitting behind the wheel, she opened her purse and exclaimed in frustration, "Damn, I think I left my credit card in the store. Please wait, I'll go look for it." The elderly lady smiled and said, "I'll wait." The woman hurried back to the shopping center to find her credit card. With each step, her unease grew. She arrived at the store and found a security guard to explain the situation. Together, they returned to the car and immediately noticed the passenger door wide open. A bag lay near the car, which the old lady had been holding earlier. The security guard quickly picked up the bag and began to inspect its contents. Inside, they found a gray wig, duct tape, a small video camera, and a woman's dress wrapped around a large butcher knife. The young woman felt a wave of horror wash over her. She realized that she had encountered a dangerous situation, one that could have ended in disaster. At that moment, she remembered her intuition, which had warned her to be cautious. She thanked her lucky stars for deciding to return and check the car. If she hadn't done that, who knows what could have happened. Now she understood that giving the old lady a ride was the right decision, as it helped uncover the dark plot of whoever was trying to harm her.
It was about 4 years ago. I don't remember exactly. My family, my mom, dad, younger sister, and I sold our house and moved in with my grandmother, who had recently moved into her new home. Let me give you a little background. My grandmother's house is large, with 5 rooms, 2 hallways, a boiler room, and 2 entrances, a front and a back door. So my sister and I claimed one room. My parents took the one next to it, and my grandmother had her own room. We put all our still unpacked things, bags, suitcases, luggage, in the large living room. For some reason, we couldn't unpack everything for a long time, so it just stayed there. One day, relatives came to visit us and stayed overnight. We arranged them in such a way that I had to sleep in the living room on the couch. I lay down calmly, read a book, and started to fall asleep. Suddenly, I heard a rustling sound next to the bed. Not paying much attention to it, I turned to face the wall, and sleep began to take over me again when the rustling repeated. Annoyed, I thought, well, that's it, mice. Good night to you, dear. But the rustling continued, turning into a sort of stomping. Such a noise couldn't be made by a mouse. Besides, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. Pushing aside bad thoughts, I tried to fall asleep again. But it wasn't happening. A chill ran across my hands and face, as if there was a draft, although the door and window were closed. I started to feel scared. I reached for my mobile, looked at the time. It was 1:30 in the morning. And then I heard footsteps. Real human footsteps. Shining my phone's light, I saw nothing. The sound of footsteps didn't stop, but there was nothing around, and I was already shaking with fear. I wanted to get up and turn on the light, but the switch was on the other side of the room, and I was too scared. I heard footsteps near my bed and lay there with my eyes open, trying to see something in the dark. This thing walked around, circled the couch, and stood behind me, near my head. I felt chills running down my skin, and the presence of this something filled me with terror. The familiar room took on unfamiliar, sinister shapes, and even the cute piggy bank in the shape of a smiling gnome on the bedside table seemed evil, with a malicious smile. I was so scared, I can't even describe it. I couldn't scream or get out of bed. I was paralyzed with fear, and this thing stood right at the back of the couch, breathing cold air on me. Naturally, there was no chance of falling asleep. I only managed to sleep when the first rays of sunlight entered the room. Afterward, I told my family everything, but no one really believed me. They said it was a dream, that it was the cat making noise, although the cat had spent the night outside. But I know that it really happened to me. El Paso School is one of the oldest buildings in El Paso, Texas. Within its walls, children tell each other a very scary urban legend. According to the legend, on the 4th floor of the school, there is a corridor that has been closed for several decades. They say that this corridor is filled with mist every day, and a strange, sticky substance drips from the ceiling. At the end of the corridor, there is a staircase leading to a balcony, which is also closed. All these oddities are said to have started after a tragic incident that happened here 35 years ago. It is said that there was a girl in this school, the captain of the school's football cheerleading team. She was dating a guy from the football team, and when he broke up with her, she fell into a deep depression. Driven completely insane by her unhappy love, she slit her wrists and jumped from the balcony, dying on impact. Since then, some people have claimed to see the ghost of a young girl standing on the balcony, waving at them. Others have claimed to see a ghost jumping from the balcony and disappearing before reaching the ground. Sobbing and moaning have often been heard in the corridor, even when it was empty, and several people have seen the ghost of a lonely, crying girl there. The rumors and legends of the El Paso school ghost have persisted for decades. The main piece of evidence supporting this legend was found at the main entrance of the school, a class photo taken in 1985. All the children in the photo are depicted clearly, except for one girl, whose features are blurred. Other children captured in the photo claimed that there was no girl next to them when the picture was taken, and no one knew this girl. About 15 years ago, several teachers and students were forced to stay at the school due to a severe storm. Out of boredom, they decided to explore the old school building, starting with the basement tunnels. They walked through a narrow passage and eventually reached a brick wall blocking the path. The bricks were old, and the cement between them had begun to crumble. One of the teachers pushed on the bricks, and the wall collapsed, revealing a large, dark room. When they lit the room with a flashlight, they realized it was an old classroom, the entrance to which had been bricked up. The unusual discovery surprised everyone. The classroom was very small with compact desks, on which notebooks with school notes were still lying. Everything was covered with a thick layer of dust, and no one could understand why this classroom had been suddenly abandoned, and no one had returned to retrieve their personal belongings. One teacher picked up a dusty notebook from a desk. Flipping through it, he realized that it was a diary that once belonged to a young girl. All the pages in the notebook were filled with love confessions to a boy. The margins of the notebook were decorated with hearts and tears. On the last page was a suicide note. A few years ago, one of the school's teachers stayed late grading students' notebooks. When he finished and was ready to leave, it was already 11 p.m. He headed for the exit and saw someone in the dim light of the red exit sign. It was a girl in a blue dress. Thinking she was one of his students, the teacher asked her what she was doing at such a late hour and told her to go home. The girl turned and looked at him with incredible pain and sadness in her eyes. As the teacher approached her, he noticed that she was not standing on the floor but hovering in the air. She began to fade, retreating into the darkness of the corridor, then disappeared completely.